Hello, today we're going to be talking about how to approximate the value cosine of 29 degrees using the linear approximation. So we want to approximate the cosine of 29 degrees. First, we want to know what is a value we do know that's close to 29 degrees. Well, we do know cosine of 30 degrees is equal to root 3 over 2. Now, one of the problems is when we are evaluating the cosine function, we don't want to use the degree unit. When we plot the cosine function on the xy axis, the x-axis is actually in terms of radians. So when we read values off the x-axis, we are reading radian values. So what that means to say is if I had the cosine curve on the xy axis, I would not go all the way to 30, go up to the graph and see that it's root 3 over 2. In fact, I would be looking on the xy axis, we'll be looking at cosine of pi over 6, which equals root 3 over 2. And again, we use the radian conversion from degrees to radians to see that 30 degrees is pi over 6. So a note to self is 1 degree equals 1 pi over 180. And so that means 30 degrees equals 30 pi over 180, which is equal to pi over 6. So we want to first convert this. So what's going to happen here is we're going to find L of x to the function f of x equals cosine of x. And instead, at a equaling 30 degrees, I want a to equal pi over 6. So my linearization process should be happening at pi over 6, not 30 degrees. So just like we've done before for linearization, we need to find the tangent line equation to the curve cosine of x at x equals pi over 6. Now, in order to do that, I need a tangent slope. Now, the derivative will provide me with a function of tangent slopes. That function I will give pi over 6, and it will return to me the tangent slope to the function cosine of x at x equal pi over 6. So the first thing I need to do is I need to find the derivative. F prime of x equals cosine, F prime of x equals negative sine of x. Now, that is a function that will provide me with tangent slopes. I desire the tangent slope at x equals pi over 6. So f prime of pi over 6 equals negative sine of pi over 6, which equals negative 1/2. Now, again, notice so far, both of the calculations that we've had to do in the cosine or sine function have been things that we know from basic understandings of the unit circle. So this is going to be my slope. What is my coordinate going to be? So to find the coordinate, we want to evaluate f of pi over 6, which equals cosine of pi over 6, which equals root 3 over 2. So the coordinate that we are constructing the tangent line equation is going to be at pi over 6, comma, root 3 over 2. So we have a point. This is going to be my point. And this is going to be my slope. I'm going to use this information to construct my tangent line equation, which will then ultimately turn to be my L of x, my linearization function. So let's start that process. So we have y minus root 3 over 2 equals the slope, which is going to be negative 1/2 times x minus, so this is going to be x minus pi over 6. Okay. Now I'm going to solve for y, and when I solve for y, that's going to be my linearization function, my L of x. So I'm going to add, root 3 over 2 to both sides. And I'm going to distribute the negative 1/2 to kind of do 2 steps in one. So I have y equals negative 1/2 x plus pi over 12 plus root 3 over 2. Okay. And so I'm going to combine like terms here. So these are going to, I'm going to put, actually not necessarily combine like terms. I'm going to write these as one fraction. So this is going to be equal to negative 1/2 x plus, this is going to be pi plus 6 root 3 over 12. Okay, so this is going to be my L of x, my linearization function. That is my linearization function. This function right here is good for approximating cosine of x for whatever x value I choose close to 30 degrees. I think we can agree that 29 is close to 30 degrees. However, I do not want to put 29 into this function. 29 is very far away from pi over 6, which is where I constructed this line equation. So what we need to do is we need to notice, let's use this one, note 29 degrees equals 29 pi over 180. And so what we have here is this conversion. I'm going to use this conversion into my L of x. So what I mean to say is cosine of 29 degrees equals, I'm using the equal sign here, cosine of 29 pi over 180. And here you should notice my approximation. Approximately L of 29 pi over 180. Okay, so cosine of 29 degrees equals cosine of 29 pi over 180. But using the linearization approximation, or the linear approximation, that is going to be approximately equal to this linearization function. Okay, so I'm going to put the 29 pi over 180 into this equation here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So L of 29 pi over 180 equals, so I'm just going to directly substitute in. So that's negative 1/2 times 29 pi over 180, okay, plus pi plus 6 root 3 all over 12. Now, you should be looking at this and saying, well, how does this make my calculation easier? I could just plug cosine of 29 into a calculator and be done. I would probably need to use the same calculator just to calculate this. So I want to take this one step further and say, all right, this can be reduced. If we were to combine common denominators, this can be reduced to pi plus 180 root 3 over 360. Okay. After combining everything up, this is what we would get. Now, what I want to also point out is that this right here, we can approximate this by using 3.14 instead of using actually pi. So let's do that. So this is approximately 3.14 plus 180 times the square root of 3 divided by 360. Again, we are using common knowledge that pi equals 3.14. So that is as approximate as I can possibly get it. Now, the only tool I need is a calculator that can calculate the square root of 3. And if I were to do that and use the order of operations, this is approximately 0.87474. There's 1, 2, 7, 6. Okay, that is the decimal approximation of that ratio. So what we can then do is say, all right, now let's get a real calculator and actually calculate cosine of 29 degrees. This is approximately 0.8746197. Okay, that is the best approximation using a calculator. The error between these two, approximations is 0.0001279, which I don't think is that bad. On a desert island with a basic calculator that can only calculate square roots, we would be in good standing.